Peace, family. This is Lions Den with another news and commentary. I'm doing an update on a story that I've done 2 months ago by the name of Anton Black, the 19-year-old black teen who died in police custody. And this article comes from the Atlanta Black Star. It says the death of a 19-year-old black teen apparently suffering a mental breakdown in police custody roars rural town. It says, inside the home, Anton Black shared with his mother a collage of photographs, paid homage to a gifted athlete and aspiring model on the verge of becoming a father. The makeshift shrine is adorned with track and field medals Black proudly wore in one photo. This is how Black's mother wants to remember her son. She can't bear to watch body camera video that captured the final minutes of the 19-year-old's life, which ended during a struggle with police officers outside the same mobile home that evening. Janelle Black watched as her handcuffed son shouted, "I love you," before his last breath. "I knew he was dead," she recalls. The African-American man's death in police custody has roiled a rural town of Maryland's Eastern Shore and left his family yearning for answers. They aren't satisfied by the conclusions of a county prosecutor who isn't pursuing charges or the medical examiner who rules Black's death accidental. They want a federal investigation and help from Governor Larry Hogan, who expressed a personal interest in this case. The family waited months for autopsy results after Black's September 2018 death in Greensboro. An autopsy report dated on January 23rd was released 2 days after the Republican governor expressed frustration at the pace of the investigation. "If it wasn't for Governor Hogan, we wouldn't have any type of answers," says 37-year-old Latoya Holly, Anton's sister. "Even though we don't like the answers that they are trying to give us, at least we have something now to start actually proceeding with this fight for clearing Anton's name and making sure we get justice." And like I said, I'm going to stop you right there. I did this story, 2 months ago, and it's really, really sad to see a 19-year-old mysteriously died in police custody. Now, when I explained to you guys on the story, he has medical issues. So, basically, I think he said he has heart issues. But the thing of it is that he died in police custody, and there's there's autopsy, but they still waited for autopsy results, and of course they're not going to give it to him, which to them they have every right to find out what happened to their son. So it says, on the evening of September 15, 2018, Greensboro officer Thomas Webster IV confronted Black in response to a 911 call from a woman who drove by and said she saw Black dragging a 12-year-old boy down the street. While police treated the call as a suspected kidnapping, Black's family said the 12-year-old was a friend and wasn't in danger. Webster's body camera shows Black running away when the officer told him to put his hands behind his back. Officers chased Black before he locked himself inside a car parked outside of his family's home. An officer shattered the driver's side window with a baton and shocked Black with a taser before Black got out and struggled with 3 officers and a civilian. Stepping outside their home, Black's mother screamed her son's name after officers wrestled him down on a wooden ramp. "Anton, stop, baby," she said as he struggled. The officer kept him pinned down for more than 5 minutes as they handcuffed and shackled his legs. The officer appeared calm. One jokes, "I'm getting old. I couldn't keep up with him." They reassure his mother that Black will be fine. I'm going to stop you right there. They reassure that Black will be fine. Okay. I'm just going to leave it like that because they knew Black is dead. They knew it, and they try to play crazy with it. But they don't want to, basically they don't want to make the mother feel nervous of what happened to her son. The mother knew that he was gone, but they don't want to react to the entire situation. They don't want to basically have, when you lost to somebody, they don't want to get emotional and get and say, I lost my son. This is really ridiculous. So, continue reading. It says, this is a mental health emergency. We're not treating this like a crime, an officer said. He's going to be okay. We're going to get him some help. About 30 seconds later, the officers turned the handcuffed Black onto his back, checked for a pulse. He's breathing, a voice said as the officer then leaned Black unresponsive against the home. Nearly 3 minutes later, his mother notes her son is turning dark. Officers removed his handcuffs and performed CPR. Black later was pronounced dead at a hospital. The medical examiner autopsy report said Black's congenital heart condition, mental illness, and stress from the struggle likely contributed to his death. The report said Black's medical records show he recently was involuntarily hospitalized and diagnosed with bipolar disorder. His relatives say they aren't aware of any such diagnosis or heart problem. The autopsy lists more than 36 scrapes and bruises on Black's body. His family said that's evidence of excessive force on somebody who wasn't a threat. They were all chasing him like he done killed somebody. This boy didn't have no weapons, no guns, no knives, no nothing. He was just walking down the road with his friend and said his father, Anton Black. Caroline County State's Attorney Joseph Riley last month announced he isn't asking a grand jury to consider charges, saying his office can't prosecute tragic acts. In a statement, Riley said the autopsy report showed there's no evidence Black was choked, struck by officers, or had force applied to his neck. I'm going to stop you right there. I saw the video. I saw what happened. The officers used his leg when he was on the ground. He couldn't hardly breathe. His knee was on his back, trying to arrest him. He can't even breathe. And now they say, well, there's no evidence that he was choked, struck by officer, or had force applied to his neck. His knee was on the daggone back. How can one officer have his knee on the back of Anton Black's back? He couldn't even breathe. And then when the officer realized it, that's when he performed CPR. This is ridiculous. I'm continuing reading. It says Webster was placed on administrative leave months after Black's death, but returned to active duty following Riley's decision. The State Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services plans to review Greensboro hiring of Webster, who was acquitted in 2015 of assaulting a man while an officer in Dover, Delaware. So I'm gonna stop you right there. So this officer that that really, I'm gonna say it like this: the officer that killed Anton Black has a rap sheet. He was acquitted for assaulting a man in Dover, Delaware, in another precinct. And this is what I'm saying about these police officers. They think basically it's like when I did a story about Shelby in Oklahoma, and she got out scot clean, and she went on to the police department after she murdered Terrence Crutcher. So this is really, really disturbing. And Anton Black shouldn't have died that night. Everybody knows he probably has problems, but the thing of it is the way the police handled the situation and the way police, one of the officers put his knee in the back of his upper back, couldn't hardly breathe. So I saw the video and it was disturbing. I'm going to go ahead and continue reading this. It says his acquittal was disclosed on his application for state certification, which granted him police powers in Maryland last year. The state agency only recently learned of other use of force, involving Webster's time in Dover, said department spokesman Gerard Shield. Webster is white, so is about 3/4 of Greensboro, roughly 2,000 residents. Janelle Black said her son's death divided the town, but she's recently support from neighbors, even strangers in January. She recalls a white woman whose daughter knew Anton approached her and said, "I'm so sorry what they did to him," before crying. Monique Sorrell, Anton's 41-year-old sister, said some in Greensboro seem to want to keep things quiet. They just want us to be quiet and go away and act like Anton's life didn't matter. But Anton's life matters, she says. Town manager Jeanette DeLute said officials muted response, kind of hurt things honestly. We were told from the get-go, don't make any comments, she says. When I look back, I think that it was hurtful for us because it made the family feel that we didn't care or that we were just doing business as usual. Black's family rejoiced at the birth of his daughter, Winter, in November. But the family is grieving again after Anton's older brother, Brandon Jackson, died February 2nd of apparent drug overdose, according to police. The family buried Jackson at the same cemetery where Black was laid to rest. And that's the end of the article. Ladies and gentlemen, this family been through a lot. I mean, they just lost another member of the family due to a drug overdose. So, Anton Black shouldn't have died that night. Like I told you, the video that I saw when one of the officers put a knee in his upper back, tried to arrest him. It was two officers. One officer trying to hold Anton, and the other officer put his knee in his upper back. So, I mean, nobody couldn't breathe when it comes to that. So obviously, what they're trying to do, they're trying to quiet this and trying to sweep this under the rug. They don't want to make it as called an Eric Gardner situation. In Eric Gardner, that died in New York. They don't want to have that situation in the town of Greensboro, Maryland. And again, like you said, according to the story, this incident divided the entire town between white side of the family and the black side of the town. Basically, they divided this. So now, if it wasn't for Governor Larry Hogan, the Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, this story wouldn't even existed. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This story wouldn't even be existed if it wasn't for Governor Larry Hogan interested in this case personally. See, this is why I said when it comes to when police, this young man, he was only 19 years old. And then they claiming that he kidnapped this 12-year-old boy. Turns out that is his friend. And let's just say hypothetical, he does have a medical problem. Why would you even escalate the entire situation by putting a knee in his back, knowing that if he does have medical problems, having trouble breathing, it's gonna make things worse. So, ladies and gentlemen, this story is far from over. I know it's far from over because again, right now they're trying to sweep this under the rug. And I know Black Lives Matter probably going to find out about this case, and they're going to do more digging and try to find the truth of what happened to Anton Black. So I'm going to do more research as well and get more information on this story too and let you guys know what happened. But this story needs to be talked about because I did do a story I did do Anton Black, 2 months ago. And so realistically, now you have a 19-year-old kid gone and police did a horrible job. One, laughing, saying I'm getting too old, but you knew that this young man is dying. And when you try to put a knee in the back of him, and he couldn't hardly breathe, and it's just tragedy. It's just terrible. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this. Share this story. Click, subscribe my YouTube channel for all the news and commentary. With that being said, this is Lions Den signing off. Deuces.